All right. So we're getting to the point now in the story where it was we were gonna actually try to have a baby. Am I saying it accurately, or you want to like?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I do recall you starting to buy pregnancy tests. Do you recall that? Yeah, I feel like you were starting to buy pregnancy tests often when we were practicing.
Well, yeah, because it's like I just like needed to know for my own sanity. I think a lot of women probably can relate to that.
And do you remember how you felt at all when you were taking the pregnancy test and they were showing negative results?
Yeah, like nervous and like, okay, am I ready for this? Like, and then sometimes feeling like either bummed or like somewhat relieved because I was just like, am I ready for this?
I don't ever remember perceiving you to be bummed. I do. I mean relieved. I don't remember you feeling relieved. I always remember. I started to realize. I'm like, wait a minute. This could carry a heavy toll if we do not get pregnant, and we have to. If she keeps buying pregnancy tests and getting negative results, this could be like a bad thing. I never thought about it till like nobody ever gave us the heads up about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I say, like, I was just like, okay, like, I got my period. Like, okay, that's like, okay, well, not this month, but yeah.
Yeah. And so I know, so when I started to see that Emerald was getting disappointed with the pregnancy test, and I started feeling the weight of the possibility of not being able to get pregnant, I started feeling that weight. I was like, okay, I want to get a little bit more serious about this. I'm not trying to spend that much time with doing like tons of tests and not getting the results we want. So I think I asked Emerald, I was like, okay, when is the prime time for us to do it and to give this? Now we're not practicing anymore, we are trying. When would be the best time for us to try? Do you remember me asking you that?
Yes, you've asked me this multiple times. You're just asking me now on camera, so
Yeah.
yes.
And so we tried. I remember you kind of told me when it was like halfway through your cycle. And we really tried. And how long was it until we found out that you actually tested positive? Like we did it, and then when was the positive pregnancy test? How long?
Well, it was right when I missed my period. So.
Oh, that's right. So it was like 2 weeks.
No, it's 5 weeks.
So we did it. We tried, and then you're saying it's about 5 weeks after that?
Yeah, you have your period every 4 weeks. And so then the week after, like when you miss, is when you're pregnant.
Okay, so it was
some people's earlier, but mine wasn't. It was.
So take us back to that moment. How when you peed on that stick and you saw the results, tell me what happened? What did you feel?
I was
what
just like, okay. So I was like, is this like for real? Like, really? I'm really pregnant? Really? That's like what I feel like was coming up for me.
And how many tests did you take?
I think I got 2 more after that night. I was like, okay, we need to like go get another one and like confirm this, like not just with the little strip, do a different one and then see, and also do the digital one that like really tells you pregnant or not pregnant. It like really says that. So I think I took 3 pregnancy tests.
And then when we eventually you missed your period, right? You just didn't have a period, and that was like ultra confirmation.
Yeah, I had like initially done that anyways. That's why I was taking a pregnancy test. I just said that.
Okay. So do you remember how you felt when you were for sure pregnant?
Yeah, I just told you.
You did? Okay.
I keep saying this.
Okay. So when was the first time that you went to the doctor's appointment? Like what?
7 weeks.
Okay, 7 weeks after
we went together.
Okay.
You don't remember this?
Yeah, of course I remember. Hey, anywho, okay, so 7 weeks, and tell me, we were preparing for a home birth, right? You wanted to have the baby at home.
Yeah.
And why did you want to have it at home?
I wanted to experience being, like, having our baby brought into this world, like, just in our own environment, an environment that felt controlled, like, in some sense, like, that, you know, it's our atmosphere, like, our home. There's not, like, I don't have to deal with, like, the stress of being potentially, like, asked a million questions while I'm trying to be in labor, or, like, pushed things on me or our baby, like, when it's brought into this world. That
Basically, meaning anything that would potentially go into the baby, like a pricking, injection, yeah, any of those things.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be, yeah, like, at home, like, where we made our baby is the same place that I want to have our baby. So that's where I want to be.
Did you ever, like, I think a lot of people think that doing a home birth is risky, dangerous. Did you think about that at all?
No. Like, I never felt that way, because we just had a midwife that was really awesome that I worked with through my whole pregnancy. Yeah.
Yeah, we found a midwife. Some of our best friends had a home birth and used this midwife, Healing Hands?
No. Laboring
Hands, Tanya
Trail.
based out of Atlanta, and she did a wonderful job delivering their baby at home. So that's where we got her at. And so
Got her at. Yeah, we purchased her.
All right, so let's kind of like...
We were working with her through my pregnancy and just really liked her approach. And yeah, I really have a lot of respect for her and her midwife practice. Like, she's very knowledgeable, and also, like, you know, was saying that it's not home birth at all costs, like, meaning that we're going to do things that are safe. And she had a 3-strike, like, approach kind of thing. If there was 3 things that were going wrong, then she was going to call it and we're going to transfer to the hospital.
That's a good point. Basically, if there was, like Emma said, 3 things that went wrong, that's when she would want to transfer to the hospital. But if those didn't happen, then she would make it happen at home. So everything, I want you to correct me if I'm saying this wrong. Everything was going great. Like, baby was in a good position in your belly.
Yeah, he was still, like, sunny side up.
And we didn't know the sex. We never found out the sex until he actually came out of Emerald. It was a surprise. But he was good positioning. Was there anything that was coming up in your appointments, like, up to 37 weeks, that was telling us that we might not be able to have the baby at home?
No, it was like 37, 38 weeks. Like, I think 38 probably, I think, was the appointment that I went, and my blood pressure was high, like a little bit higher, and the midwife, Tanya, was kind of like saying, you know, we gotta watch that, like, because if it gets too high, like, you know, that's a concern for her, because, yeah, she can't have somebody having a home birth with blood pressure that high, like. So it was high, and then it was, like, you know, just kind of continued. But I never had, like, protein in my urine, which is, like, a sign of preeclampsia with, you know, high blood pressure and all those things. So no, I never had any kind of complications. He never had any complications. Like, there was no signs of not being able to move forward, other than just, like, we got to watch this blood pressure a little bit.
Right. So those are all important things. The blood pressure, that was the only thing that really came up for us around 37, 38 weeks appointment. And then, so 40 weeks came around, full term pregnancy, which, you know, these are all things that I'm like, had no idea about until recently, you know, that a full term was 40 weeks. Anyway, 40 weeks came around, nothing happened. When did
that week, there was prodromal labor.
40 weeks?
Remember, I started having contractions, and then they lasted, like, it was, I think, Friday, Saturday, we went into, like, the next day.
Week what? 40?
Yeah. And
I thought it was 42.
No, we went to 41 in 3 days. with
Okay.
him.
Okay.
But I had like 5 days of prodromal labor
Okay.
until I had him.
All right. So Emerald started going into these labor, prodromal labor. And from what it looked like to me on my end, it just looked like it basically she started not being able to sleep that well because she was in uncomfortable. She was walking around the house constantly, just like I felt like kind of in a nervous / uncomfortable state. And we were starting to be like, what the heck? Okay. Like at what point do we call our midwife? And
I called her that first night.
yeah, but at what point does she come? That was like a big question for us. Like, when does our midwife come?
Because, yeah, the contractions that first night were getting to be about 3 to 4 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And it had been like that for like an hour, and they had consistently just like, yeah, I feel like stayed that way pretty much for a while. And then it was like they would go back out to 5 to 8 minutes apart. And then, so I had called her, and then at like 6 in the morning, I was like, it seems like they've gone to about 15 to 13 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, I'm not going to come yet.
Okay, yeah. So that was when she told us that she would come, is when the 411 started happening, which is what does that mean again, Emerald?
The 4 minutes apart for an hour, lasting for a minute.
Okay.
And
And we did have a doula too.
Yeah, and I hadn't called her, and she was like, "Hey, you haven't called your doula yet."
When did you call the doula?
I think it was the second night. So I went out of labor that day, like at like 6, 7 in the morning. Tanya decided not to come. She was like, "Okay, this is still early labor. Just like, try to distract yourself as much as you could."
Mm-hmm.
And then that night, I was same thing. Like at probably 11 o'clock at night, I like started having contractions again. And then I think I called Melena like 1 or 2 in the morning or something.
And what was Melena's main purposes for being there? Like
comfort, like helping to like just bring any kind of pain relief to me, and offering that, like massaging, like helping me to just like stay focused on like staying calm.
Melena was our doula, just to reiterate that. I know, people, I imagine, are trying, like, if they're following the story, they might be getting a little confused. But anyway, so we're good. So, at what point when did your water break?
I think it was the 3rd day.
After the prodromal labor?
Yeah, I was still like in it. Yeah.
And what did that feel like too? Oh yeah, remind me and the people watching about when you thought your water broke versus when your water actually broke.
Oh yeah. So like I had lost my mucus plug like a week before all of this, and it's hard to remember all of it, 'cause that's why I wrote it down and shared it on my Instagram, is because I actually did write all these details down. He's starting to cry, but I thought that my water had broke because I was like kind of having discharge, and it was not. So when my water broke, I felt like a pop up here, like almost like a bubble in my stomach on the side, and then it just like was like a rush of water constantly, like.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when she had thought her water broke, and we were just like, is it possible that we don't know for certain if it was your water broke? And at that moment we were just like unsure, but then her water actually broke, and that was like, it was such a kind of a sigh of relief. It's like, okay, now the water's broke, but I'm going to continue.
Yeah, we did at some point, this was, I think, was it before the labor, or I don't remember, but we went to go to the midwife and got it checked.
Oh yeah. Was it after your water broke?
No, it was before, because she gave me those strips to test.
Okay. And tell me and people watching again, what is that mean when the water breaks for you?
You're on a timer, basically, of like getting the baby out. Like meconium can start to show, and that did start to show, and all kinds of stuff.
So-
oh gosh, he pooped.
Oh, look at this, a real life blowout.
Oh, and it's in the stroller.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, we gotta pause this, and
Okay.
I need your help.
All right, we gotta
Can
pause it.
you give